All right, welcome back to Newsmax Now. Donald Trump, of course, has been in the public eye long before he became president of the United States. For decades, he was known as the billionaire real estate guru and deal maker, I should say, who lives in the Golden Tower on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. But who is the man behind the legend that is Donald Trump? Joining me now is a longtime Trump Organization executive, also an attorney, George Sorial, and an author of a great new book. Let's put it up on the screen here. The book is called The Real Deal: My Decade Fighting Battles and Winning Wars with Donald Trump. George, great to have you here in studio.
Great to be here, John. Thank you for having me.
All right, so there are tons of books out there about Donald Trump, but most of them are more recent about what we've learned of him in the last couple of years. Your book focuses on your time working with him for decades at the Trump Organization. What is one thing about Donald Trump that you know that you just don't hear talked about today?
Well, I think there are many things that I know about him that are completely contrary to the narrative that you hear every day. Part of the reason why I wrote the book. As a person that mentored me, took great care of me, shepherded my career, I always say there's few people that have done more for me than Donald Trump. I think the one thing that perhaps the mainstream media is most often incorrect about is there's this image that he doesn't listen to people. And it brings me back to a time where we had just completed a difficult day on a construction site. There were a number of issues that we had resolved, and I was just me and him walking. And he said to me, people always ask, how did I do it? How did I get successful in life? And he said, George, it's really easy. I just look around and I see what people want, and I give it to them. I give people what they want. And you can see that that's really exactly what he did in 2016.
Yeah.
We can remember all the pundits going back, there's no path to victory, he's never going to get elected. He saw something that people wanted and he stuck with it. And here we are.
You worked in compliance for the Trump Organization. A lot of people would say that sounds like a daunting task.
It was an interesting, I started out just as a lawyer, and then I actually crossed over into development. I spent most of my time building golf courses and hotels, but post-election I did take on the role of Chief Compliance Counsel. So I was the guy that wrestled with emoluments issues, dealt with all the allegations of conflict of interests, and essentially sparred with the Democrats over the past 2 years. So yeah, it was...
And they don't seem to want to let that go, especially the Trump hotel issue in Washington, D.C., the emoluments clause.
Yeah, it's such a ridiculous thing, John, and look, I don't want to single people out, but let's take, perhaps our most vocal critic of that hotel, Congressman Elijah Cummings,
right,
who's now chairing the Oversight Committee. We went to great lengths. He peppered us with letters. Although we were not legally obligated to respond, we did. We gave him a great level of respect and deference, which I think we should as responsible corporate citizens. He is a member of Congress. We may disagree with him politically, but we endeavored to respond to all his requests, and nothing was ever good enough. We've made repeated offers to meet with him privately and publicly to try to walk him through how we handle some of these issues.
Do you think this issue, the emoluments clause with the hotel, the Kellyanne Conway using her platform, talking politically, Democrats keep bringing this stuff up. Do you think they actually want to solve these, or they think they're real problems, or do they just like bringing them up to just say the president is doing something illegal or wrong?
No, I don't think they have any. They hold themselves out as being an entity that is supposed to investigate, provide oversight, and look for fact. But there's no fact-finding going on. Make no mistake about it. They are out to bring down anyone that is close to the president with the ultimate goal of discrediting the president. So it's pure politics. And quite frankly, somebody should be investigating them.
Well, not this particular case, but there is the investigation of the so-called investigators, the FBI, et cetera, the Mueller report, and a lot of people are looking towards that. But, we do see your point. I think a lot of people that watch this show get frustrated with these nonstop investigations, the subpoenas. We talked about Hope Hicks and her testimony. Sure. What was the point of that? We still don't know, and we talked to Congressman Doug Collins about that. But the other thing, too, we were talking to you last week. You were up in Orlando for the big debut of the 2020 presidential campaign for Donald Trump and the rally there. Let's play a clip of the president kind of in his element. We'll take a look at that. Sure. Here it is.
Keep America great. By the way, that is a lot of fake news back there. That's a lot. That's a lot. The only collusion was committed by the Democrats, the fake news media and their operatives, and the people who funded the phony dossier, crooked Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
You know, George, this is very similar to what we heard in 2016. I think the difference now is that people actually know Donald Trump can win, and probably in a state like Florida is favored to win. When you see the rally bigger than it was in 2016, do you think a lot of people are underestimating kind of the people that aren't counted in the polls in places like Florida, people who are willing to wait 4 days just to show up and hear this guy speak? It's
completely unique. What I saw on Tuesday was incredible. You had people that had been lining up from the night before. When I showed up at the stadium, I mean, literally there was a line of people going back, probably a mile. But what struck me the most is these are people from all walks of life, all demographics, all age groups, there for the same reason, because they see something in Trump that's unique, something that's refreshing. Again, I can only speak about my own personal opinions, but I was sick and tired of what Washington was offering. The same old nonsense, the same old political speak. I find it refreshing that we have a guy like President Trump, who's a businessman, who succeeded on many different levels, in many different industries, and he's now bringing that same drive, that same level of attention in a plain, frank, straightforward way to the White House. I think people are loving that, and that's really what I saw. I mean, you don't see that for other candidates. Somebody said to me, Biden struggles to get 200 people at a rally. What we saw on Tuesday was incredible.
When we see Donald Trump launch his 2020 campaign in Orlando and we see the Democrats pick Miami for their first debate location, it's no secret that state's going to be very important. You live in Florida. Talk to us what you think the Democrats, what the message they're going to try to present. Obviously, there's going to be 20 of them, but how are they going to counter Donald Trump's message? You saw the enthusiasm in Orlando.
That's an interesting question, John. I haven't seen, and I think this is part of their problem. What's their message? I really don't know. They're all over the place. They're talking about changing aspects of the Constitution. Some of their proposals are outright socialist in nature, and I don't think that's a direction that the country wants to go in. So I really don't think they have a message. They're all over the place. I think the one thing that unifies them is this ridiculous drive to discredit the president. And that's a pretty hard thing to do when you have his track record. So I think they're a party that doesn't have any direction. I'd like to hear how they answer that themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure it's, that's what they're obviously going to be trying to do. Donald Trump has, done these interviews. He did the interview with ABC News, more recently with NBC News, setting the tone for what I think is going to be a very important state. And George, great book, by the way. Look forward to checking it out more, and highly encourage everybody to read it. It's called The Real Deal: My Decade Fighting Battles and Winning Wars with Trump. George Sorial, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Great to see you. Thank you, John.
Our pleasure. All right, coming up, Mayor Pete confronted at a town hall in South Bend, Indiana. Did this response help him or hurt him for 2020? Does he even care? We'll talk about that next. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for breaking news and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, then share it with your friends. Remember, you can watch Newsmax TV live on YouTube. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.